Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel Review Anything and Everything. And today we are finally getting to the long-awaited review of the Millennium Falcon set 75257. Now, it's 1,351 pieces, and it comes with a total of 6 minifigures. If you include the D-O, I guess the little droid D-O. I hope I'm saying that right, because from here it almost looks like it could be a D or Q. I can't tell. You know what? It says D-O. So D-O, and that would make 7. So we'll just say similar to like a Grogu, we'll call that a half. So you get 6.5 minifigures. Um, this set is from you can see from the box art there, is that new trilogy. I forget which exact movie, but it's from the newer trilogy. I'm not sure if it's the episode. I think this one is episode 9, but I'm not 100% sure. And it has obviously the older Lando, Calrissian, Chewbacca, C-3PO, Finn, Boolio, R2-D2, which so many sets have him, so you're gonna have so many repeats of him. But one thing about this set that I was actually excited about, beyond for many other reasons, is that the lineup of figures inside this set. You have Chewbacca, which for the most part that I've seen in the Lego Star Wars sets is ageless, meaning that he's the same version that you're going to have from the original trilogy versus this future timeline for the new trilogy. C-3PO is for the most part the same. There's some iterations of him that, where here his leg, I think, is slightly different colored, like one of his other legs. But nonetheless, he can be used as your original trilogy C-3PO. Obviously, that's the same thing with R2-D2. So earlier, a while back, and it's on the channel, so you can check that out. I had an individual Han Solo character that I purchased as just an individual figure I purchased on Amazon. So with him, it allows me to gives me an original trilogy setup in terms of characters. I bought Obi-Wan's hut, which came with Obi-Wan, Luke Skywalker, and R2-D2, and it came with one of the Tusken Raider guys. But nonetheless, having Obi-Wan and that older Luke Skywalker gives me a chance to have, like I said, original trilogy characters to put with this set. The only character I'm missing is Leia. So I could just say it's the time frame of when Luke and Obi-Wan meets up with Han Solo and Chewbacca when they're at the I believe that's the Mos Eisley little bar on Tatooine. So yes, so that part makes me a little excited to know that I can turn this into an original trilogy set with the characters that I have. Outside of that, I'm looking forward to this ship because I think that not only obviously this being the latest version that is the most up to date, but also just it has a lot of interior space, a lot that you could do with it if you want to customize and add a few things, but if you don't, it's fine as it is. And very much so, I want to be able to get a chance to compare this to some other sets that I have that you could stay tuned for. Those will come later on where I will compare this against the Razor Crest and compare this also against the Ghost. Let me just turn the box around so you guys can get a image of what's going on the back. So here you go. Sorry about the glare. I know it's a bit much. Let me try to move it a little closer. So here you see, you guys might not be able to see this past the glare. I'm sorry for that. I'll try to redirect my lights a little bit, but I also know it makes it a little hard to see. So here you have and I believe it's a dual cockpit setup for you to put for the top turrets and the bottom turret. So you take this little sliding kind of little bench where the character is facing upwards, and there should be another one facing downwards, and they can man the gunners. And here you can see it here where this one has full articulation, and so does the one below it. You have here where you have a scene where they have the little game and one of, I guess, the main one of control chairs. So a lot of nice interior stuff. This set's been out for a while, so what I'm saying is nothing new, but I'm just going over everything. You got the little bed set up in the back, a little hyperdrive. This shows you the full layout of all the panels opened up. I know you guys can't really see it that well because of the glare. I'm sorry about that. But you have the whole layout of the entire interior, which is actually very nice. You got the seats over here. You got the two beds over here. Now, generally speaking, in canon, these seats are supposed to be over here, but nonetheless, they try to work with the space you have. You can try to convert it if you want, but at the same time, too, there's not a lot of room over there. You have a little kitchen area here, which a lot of people say was never in it, but it's cool to have that because realistically, for figures who are on the ship, they're going to need things like that. Well, obviously, right here, you can see the hyperdrive setup right here again with some piping going around. So that's pretty nice as well, with a lot of just free interior space. You obviously have some, um, here you've got the not stud, the spring loaded cannons or blasters. Here shows you the cockpit, how the cockpit goes on it. It just punches forward. And here you also have a little scene of the escape hatch, not the escape hatch. This is actually the docking hatch that comes from below. So this is not the hidden one. This is the hidden one in the back here where they would smuggle people in. So it's really cool that you have all these features and whatnot that go along with it. All right, you guys. So here goes our full layout setup of the bags. I was just going to do a photo real quick and then just take a picture of all the bags, but it's easier for me to just record it because it ended up being so much and I couldn't even get a full widespread. So it's a little easier for me to talk it through. So we've got two number one bags, two number two bags. We've got a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus this additional bag. So that makes a total of 13 bags. So we're going to rip into all of them one at a time, start putting it together, and we'll be back with the final review of the entire project. I got a lot to say about the set, not only just in terms of what I'm going to think about the set when it's all done, but also just the lore of how it falls and fits into Star Wars canon and just everything about it. So, like I said, bear with me. Obviously, anyone who's a fan of the channel already knows that I talk a whole bunch when it comes to a lot of these things and my thoughts on it. So we're going to jump all into that after we put this together. All right, you guys, we are back with the finished build. And first, I'm going to start with saying we've got the man in the house, Han Solo. Now, I did a review on this figure as I bought him as an individual figure off of Amazon. I'm going to put the link in the description down below. He is obviously the owner of the ship the way we know it, but obviously this set doesn't come with this figure, so I'm going to toss him over to the side for now. And we're going to bring into the mix the figures that come with the set. Now, one thing I want to also add too is I made a modification on the ship, and I'm going to show that at the end of the video. And when I get through with this review, in the midst of it, I'm going to show you what that portion was, and then I'm going to add that to the end of the video. So it's going to make this video really long, but just disclaimer that when somewhere within the middle of this video, that's going to end, and then the regular review is going to end, and then that added portion is probably going to be somewhere about close to like about 37 minutes. So the last 37 minutes of the video, you can just not bother to watch if you're not interested. So jumping into this right here, this has been a set that I had for a while now. I've been waiting to put together. It's been a long time coming, but it's been a while for me to get to it, and it actually was a very fun build. I actually enjoyed it because just something about the way it flowed. It just flowed quite easy, and I didn't have any issues with it. So I enjoyed the build process. I think that it looks really nice. Like I said, we're going to jump into it in a moment. First, I'm going to jump into the figures, and then we're going to dive deep into just my thoughts and a kind of breakdown of certain things that I want to kind of evaluate for the set. So starting with the crew. Now, obviously, as I just mentioned, the main guy that we all know to go with this ship is not part of the ship. So the crew, starting with this review, the crew is going to be a little bit different than what, obviously people who are viewing this for the classic purposes. Now, I put earlier in the video about how there's a few characters who come with the set that make up from the original trilogy, that would go with the ship. So in that aspect, I was happy about that. But Chewbacca to stand. But obviously, you're not getting all of them. Now, the one thing I'm going to add is by the time that I had got to this point of finishing the build, I had mentioned that I had most of the characters from the original trilogy. The only person I was missing was Leia, and now I have that person because I ended up purchasing the X-wing. Got it on sale, which is something that I'll review on the channel a little bit later. But so don't have that figure in front of me right now, but I have now all the main characters that went to the original, with the original trilogy that will be flying in the Falcon. Now, let's go over each figure. Although there's one figure missing, and he's actually inside the ship right now. So, and that is D.O. I'm going to leave that off right now. We'll just start with D.O. first. To be honest with you, although I've seen the newer trilogies, I don't even remember certain things in it. I'll be honest, I wasn't ever a fan. I can honestly tell you that probably killed Star Wars for me. But this figure looks very nice as a little tiny droid. We're going to consider it a half of a figure. So essentially you're getting 6.5 minifigures if you're including the droid as a minifigure, R2-D2. From here, we'll go to Lando Calrissian. Now, this is the older version of him. Hopefully it focuses. There we go. I think it's hard for, with the blaster, I think it's making it hard to focus. There we go. So you see he's got this cape set up, which they did a nice job on. He has, try to show his alternative expression, but with him having the cape makes it a little harder. There we go. A little more just straight face, serious face. There goes his back. Definitely a character who getting him to sit down and doing all those other kind of sorts of things will be tricky with the whole cape on and whatnot. His hair back on. And he's got his little staff. You see the little decals on the front of his chest. There goes his blaster. I think it's kind of weird how it operates because it's very, shaky all over the place. Put that to the side. And then we've got Finn, who, if I'm not mistaken, this was episode 9. So by the time of episode 9, Finn was not the hero people thought he was going to be. He got pushed to really become almost like a side character. As far as the artwork on him, it's really nice. All the detail on his upper torso, even on his legs. He's got his little pouch on the side down there, and he's got this little satchel or whatever you want to call it, with a happy expression. Little blaster, a pretty big blaster. So there goes Finn. Classic C-3PO, which you see a little bit of the silver leg. Now everyone's always going to say, and there's going to be a tale as old as time, the fact that the best version of this figure was the one that came with the speeder set, the land speeder set, and which is a UCS set and pretty expensive. So a lot of people aren't going to buy that just for the figure, but they never end up putting the better quality one in a lot of the other sets. I don't know if that came out after this time or before it. I'm not really too sure. And this right here is Bolo. Let me check that. Boolio. So I am not familiar with the character at all. I think he's if my memory serves correct, a new partner to Lando, I think, in terms of just like a travel buddy. Maybe I don't even remember, to be honest with you. So sorry about that. Like I said, I really wasn't a fan of the newer trilogy movies, but the detail on him looks nice. I don't know the role he played in terms of um, as far as on the ship goes, but but yeah, like I said, the detail on him is nice, and who knows, maybe he was like a helper person or whatever the case is, but at least the figure looks nice. So that's a little knock against me not being able to say what his role is, because part of the review I like to do, especially, well, not as much now, but later on when I do a comparison video between all of the hero ships that I have, which I'm going to do a comparison video between um, this, the Ghost, the Skeleton Crew, and the Razor Crest. It's good to know what the roles are of those heroes. So I'll try to kind of look him up by that time and kind of know what his role was. Um, Obviously, Chewbacca, he's never changed for his figures, as from my understanding, ever. So, what's nice about that is once you get the one, you pretty much have Chewbacca for the time frame from when he was in the prequels all the way to the time of the um, sequel trilogy. So that's kind of cool, just knowing that that's the case. This pretty much oversight goes over everything. So yeah, and I think what is that character called? The Gamorrean guard is the same way, if I'm not mistaken. The same design. But anyway, yes, and there's a little bow staff, his bow shooter, blaster, whatever you want to call it, and it's actually a stud shooter, which is actually pretty cool. And then obviously R2D2, which comes in so many sets, but to be honest with you, this one doesn't have back printing. And I mean, if you find the one with if you have one with back printing, great. It's not the end of the world, but and I don't know if the ones with back printing came out after this set, because this is a 2019 set. But nonetheless, having him in the collection is a great thing. So there you go with that. Let me put Lando's blaster back in his hand. So that is the crew. My thoughts on the crew is, like I said, I wasn't a fan of the prequel, the newer trilogy. I'm sorry, not prequel, the newer trilogy. So the crew, other than the older members, I really don't really have an attachment to them, and it really feels like a hodgepodge of just mixed, characters that I really feel don't kind of really have that same sense of I don't know, it's not memorable, for lack of a better word. So jumping into the external features of the ship, we have first, I am going to put this back on. Don't kind of like the way that gets put on, because I feel like this rubs too much, but that is what it is. Make sure this stays on. Well, okay. So hopefully everything will be at an angle that you guys can see everything pretty well. Try to do this best I can, because this is a pretty big ship. Now, the external features on it, this thing, and just the design and everything like that, the externals of it, we'll get into design later, but the external features. The external features are, you have the radar dish, which is nice. It moves. Just the fact that they include it. Now it's on a ball hinge. You can see here. So it gives it a good amount of movement on the ball hinge, and then even this piece here. So that part is very cool. I really like the extra greeveling that they put on it, extra little details. I want to note real quick that I have some extra pieces in here. Now, granted, these, I'm going to tell you what those are from in a moment, because I actually did some modifications on the ship, as I mentioned earlier. But you got a lot of little extra pieces. Now, normally when I have a ship that I finish, I like to take some of the extra pieces. I just throw them on. There's extra greeveling, some of the small pieces, if I can do that. And I plan on doing that. But I took a quick look at the top of the photo of the ship, and I didn't right away see something I could throw on there yet. But I'm going to have to kind of really look into it and just apply that where it sees fit. But this thing by on its own has some nice, greeveling, nice details on it. They put on the sides here, so that's nice. Um, I really enjoy, like, just like I said, the whole build process with it. Another thing too, and I'm going to dive more into this as I open it up, but the dimensions of this, of all the hero ships that are out there, I feel that the Millennium Falcon, because it has this saucer type of shape, allows it to be a lot more larger without having, with all these large plates, a lot more larger without having to be. It's not really the biggest hero ship yet. It's pretty big, smaller than say what the Ghost would be, and I don't know what the skeleton crew ship, the Onyx Cinder. I don't know what scale that's going to be, but generally speaking, and I did have a review on both of those ships already on the channel. You can check back on. But because of the shape of this, it's easier to give it a more in scale size. And even though I know that the UCS version is supposed to be the in scale, but as far as the play scale goes, this is a very nice, comfortable size that really allows the figures to feel, in comparison to the ship. Let me just grab somebody here. To be a reasonable size comparison to the ship. It doesn't feel like it's out of scale to the minifigures at all. It really doesn't. I think that if a person didn't know that this wasn't considered to scale, I think a person would probably think that this was to scale with the actual Millennium Falcon in relation to the size of the figures. Someone who's not really fully into the detail of things. So I think with that being said, like the size is just great. You can do that because this saucer size just allows it to be very big without having to make the ship extra massive and still have the space in the interior to actually do, put all the stuff on, even the exterior to put a lot of details on it. I'm a really big fan of the engines in this one. The previous version, which I don't own, I didn't like the way that the engines really looked using a tube. I like this brick built design because it just feels like it's more in line with Lego. Now, the panels, they don't sit super flush, but they're pretty decent at most angles. Now, the angle I just showed you here, it gets a little bit, little bit of puffiness on it where you can see underneath. But one thing I will say too that I realized in the build is that you see how these right here, depending on your pieces, and mine are a little bit, I don't think they're fully flat. They're a little bit bent. And so it doesn't make it sit as flush as it could or should, because I noticed that with some of my pieces, these plates, wing kind of plates, were kind of a little bit bent out of the package. Overall, though, really nice. Some of the other, that's as far as the details, as far as the features go in the external, you have the top mounted gun as well. And then you also have that on the bottom. It's hard picking this up. So I actually recommend, when you do pick it up, to grab it from both of these ends. To me, feels like the strongest point, to be honest with you. You can see here, you got the guns down here as well, the cannons. So that's nice. They didn't have to do too much crazy with it. And it, for the most part, replicates the same thing because you always have the landing gear. You don't have to worry about that hitting the floor. And I think the landing gear was done very well on this ship. It's not, I think one thing that always has to be mindful when you create a Lego ship and you're going to have landing gear out at all times, you have to make sure that the landing gear is not too high up, because then when it's in flight mode, it doesn't feel like, okay, why do I have these long pillars dragging down from the bottom? But then also too, you don't want it to be too low profile, because then it doesn't have that sense when it lands that it's standing up above the ground. Now this, I think, hits a comfortable medium where, granted, a minifigure can't necessarily walk underneath it, so you don't have that exact vibe like you would into the movie, but nonetheless, it's still high enough that it does give you the sense like it's off the ground. I think it was a nice in-between space when it comes to that. So that's pretty much one other thing for the external features is right here. You have two, let me load it up. You got two spring-loaded shooters, which I usually just don't leave spring-loaded shooters in. I would recommend most people don't, simply because you don't want that tension always on the spring. If you're just going to leave it there and never shoot it, I think it would destroy, ruin the spring. So take this back a little bit and you can see how it works. You have one on this side as well. So that's nice. Like I said before, the detailing on it looks very nice as well. All the little areas and the way they integrate those shooters in there works actually very nice as well. So you don't even notice them. So those are all the external details. Let's get into the ship, and we're going to start with, I'll come back to the cockpit actually last, because then I want to show something there. So this moves up forward. All these plates come up as so. So this was a great idea on how they did this. Now, this was the case with even some previous generations, but this one has closed the gap literally and figuratively when it comes to those opening up this pan pie pizza. So one thing I want to make note, and I just want to show you guys real quick that I have a photo of, and I grabbed this off Amazon. So the way that little thing you see on the side is where it comes from. But just to give a sense of the interior of how the Millennium Falcon would normally look. Now, I find this very impressive because one, there's a lot of interior space, more so than any other hero ship, and obviously that's because of the shape of the Millennium Falcon being like this open saucer type of design. But I just want to show two things. One, that the interior is actually cramped with a lot of hallways. This doesn't have the hallways because then it would get too cramped. I've seen some people customize it. So a person is able to customize if they want. The only thing that's going to be different in terms of the design on this versus what you have here in the actual ship is the seats that you have here are on this side because they know that you couldn't really fit it here. And you could see here that that wouldn't have worked to put that right in that space because you have that's the main chair right there. Let me see if that's something I can point with the tweezers. I use this to put the stickers on. Right there, you have that not captain's chair, but whatever you want to call it, that main kind of chair for operating the computer. That's right there, and you have that area there, which is the obviously the where the game station is, and they're right next to each other. So you wouldn't have that room to do here, obviously. So they put it off to the side. So they make, a little bit of reasonable accommodations for that. Also, too, in the back end over there would be the storage area. You have the hyperdrive area to the side on that end, kind of really like directly in the back. And then off to the side a little bit, you would have the bunks. Like over here is where the bunks would be over there. So I think they did a good job in compromising with it. You can customize yourself to kind of rearrange things the way you want, but yeah. So you see here, you got the little storage bin as well right there, which I thought I might end up moving that to accommodate for where the storage should go. Maybe put that back there. So I'm not sure, but you can move things around. That's the beauty of this set. You can see the details on the computer. Hopefully, let me try to. Kind of hard to hold this one hand. I can't put my hand directly underneath it because we have the cannons down below. Here you can see the stickers for the computer, chair, which is very nice, brick built. Obviously, that's for the little game. And obviously, they couldn't do a fully round seats, but I think this is a nice compromise. Let's see. Coming around this side. Matter of fact, first, what I'll get to is I'll pop this open. And here, and I hate the way this fits in here when it's, it's just very loose, but this is the part you would put the figures in to man the guns. Let's see how well I can do that. I'm not going to use Finn because he's got bag. So we're going to use C3PO and Boolio. There they go. So And let's see if they even fit because okay, it goes like that. Okay, so I had it in there wrong before. All right, so they go like that. Boolio's head is a little too big, but you kind of get the idea. I didn't realize Boolio's head. Let me see if I turn him sideways. Will he fit down there? So right here is where this thing slides. And I was wondering why this thing was so loose. I didn't have it incorrectly, but based on the image, it's hard to see it. There you go. So slid him in there. Let me try to bring this up so I could show that you could see that this right here acts as almost like a rail for it to slide into. So I didn't have it in this right orientation when I first had it in there. But that's awesome right there. So you simulate that. Like, I just feel like one thing that's really good with this ship, you got to keep in mind too, they had many years to refine it because they had so many versions of it. This is probably the ship that they had more of than anything else. And what's great about it is it got to the point where it's very simple yet detailed. They threw a lot of stuff in it. It's a little less detailed on the inside than the previous version, but everything that they did throw in it has more detail individually. What I mean by that is the beds are more built up than the other ones. The chairs are better designed than the other ones are. Both of them, the captain seat there, and then the one for the game. Now, obviously, inside the other one, the hyperdrive is less built up in this one and better in the other one, but at the same time, it's fine. You can kind of customize it yourself. The only issue I have with it is its positioning. It's a little too close to the beds, and I've seen people who've moved the beds a little bit so they're not right there, because you don't want a hyperdrive right there next to where someone's sleeping. Other than that, you got some of this whole wiring, and this would be the storage area like I mentioned before. So that is something too where you may try to customize. I'm going to try to do that myself. So over here you see that right over here is like where you would have storage area. Now that fits here to say, okay, the storage area, here they kind of threw like a little kitchen setup. That's fine. Kitchen can be in the storage area with some cargo. That's fine. But then where it comes to the engine area, it's not a lot of room, but if you could just move this bed a little over, then hold on, to move the bed a little bit over, then it wouldn't be so bad having that there. And you could see for the engine area, there's the one area for the hyperdrive, and then there's another little kind of circular thing with the tubing. So I guess you could say that's similar to this here. So that's fine for that to be part of your hyperdrive engine, because the other one inside the other set, the one before this one, is actually overly developed, to be honest. And it's not actually like necessarily how it is in everyone will prefer that one, but it's still not necessarily how it would be in the actual thing. So here, right here, you have a compartment to stow away, like how they would, smuggle things in. What's interesting though about this is I'm not sure if this is actually supposed to be considered the smuggle apartment where you will put someone in, or if actuality, because this is in canon, this is the same location as the if I'm not mistaken, as the escape pods. There would be a few of them underneath here. So I don't know if that's really meant to be an escape pod. I mean, obviously you can replicate the scene, or maybe it's meant to be a 2-in-1. Maybe it's meant because of his little bag. I can't really get his hand to go flat, so that's why he's not able to lay in there flush. Let me take his bag off of him for the moment so I can actually utilize him to throw him into stuff in here. But so if they needed to smuggle someone in and they didn't want them to be seen, you could do that. But generally speaking, I think that this thing can also, like I said, pass as I can't get him to sit in there flush. Let me see. No, it can't be that long. Okay, so what you're seeing on hand, first hand right now, I can't actually get him to go inside there completely flush, which kind of bothers me because that was the purpose of this thing here. So who knows? But you get the point. Now, I think it does double for both, maybe, but I'm not really too sure, because if you look underneath, That's what it looks like under there. And that's, like I said, where the escape pods would be on the ship. You got a little bit of detailing over here. Let me try to lift that up again. You get that little kind of just almost laddery type of thing going on there. Little light. You've got the crowbar. And obviously the kitchen area there, like I mentioned before. Now here would be the ramp, which comes down. And it's nice area too, just where it's supposed to go. Unfortunately, it's not low enough that he'll just knock his head and fall right over. But it still gives you that sense that it's there at least, So at least you could feel good that you're like, well, it's there. There it goes right there. So there's that. And I just hit something and something fell off. Okay, so let's see. I want to get some of these figures, take some of these guns out of their hands so I can start putting them into the ship in certain areas just to show you certain things. So I grab Finn and Chewbacca are going to go into the cockpit. Matter of fact, no, we're not going to do that. Figure who's not part of this review is going to go into the cockpit with Chewbacca. Why? Because I just got to do it. Now, but with that being said, I want to show something. So first, I'm going to close up most of this here. I'm going to leave this spot open for a second. I'm going to pull this out. Now I want to show some. This is the modification I mentioned. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to attach it to the end of the video about how the build process was, like I mentioned before. I originally was going to insert a clip showing that I was describing what I was going to do, but then eventually, since I just did it in the middle of the build, I'm not going to put that part in describing what I did, what I was going to do. I'm just going to put at the end of the video what I actually did. So here you could see, I'm going to open the side piece up so that way it you can kind of see through there. So what I did was I gutted this out. And you know what? I just realized something. So what I am going to do is at the beginning of the video, at the beginning of the end of the video, before I show what I did, I am going to put that clip where the way it was, and I'm going to show you the change that I made. Why? Because then you're going to be able to see how it originally looked. I didn't even think about that, but I want you guys to see how it originally looked. So that's going to extend the extra 8 minutes onto that 37 minutes at the end. So like I said, if you're not interested, you could skip after once we get to the end of this portion when I tell you that, the video is done, the review is done. But so it opens there, and I'm not going to show all the details in here because it's going to show that in the back, in the ending part of the video where I go into showing you all the details in it. But essentially, it gives that opening there, similar to, you can't really fit a figure in there, but it at least gives you that opening that gives you that visual like it would be there, like in the movie where they can run back. And what's interesting is it does get tighter normally there because there's like computers on the side walls, and it goes all the way through here. So it's a little hard to see from that angle. So I'll open up the side. I'll show you like that. And then after that, we'll just continue on with putting the figures inside there. But so you can see here how it goes. It goes right through. So the hallway connects. That little platform is right there. So essentially they just walk from that back area straight. Now you can't physically make a figure go through there because they won't completely fit. But like I said, with the hole there, simulates that. And that's the reason why I had those extra black pieces here and this extra brick right there. So I just want to show that. So it connects, it's open. And like I said, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to do that. If you want to do that, the only drawback from it is by doing that the way I did, This is a little loose. Other than that, that's it. If you have the original build way, this is not going to have that wiggle. But other than that, this would be solid. You won't be able to see through it. You're going to be able to see at the end of the video what I'm talking about when it's fully put together, and then how I did what I did here. So with that being said, we're going to close this up. This comes after the fact. And then now we're going to throw our Han and our Chewie in there. Let's put Dio in there. Now, what's interesting with the mod that I did is that if you want to put a figure back there, you could do that too. It's not easy to stand up to, you got to get them on that platform, which that platform's not very sturdy. It's really just visually. So, it doesn't look like, you could clip a person on it, but it's, it's mainly just so you don't see a big hole inside there, but I just want to get him somewhat situated in there so we can see him inside the back a little bit. You can't really see him that well, but anyway. And we're going to throw Han right here. And let's see if we can squeeze Chewie inside there, because I don't know if he's going to want to fit in there. Or is Chewie too big to be inside here? He might be too big to be in here, which would suck. Let me see if I can. All right, so what I'm going to do is put Chewie in here. If I can't get Chewie and Han Solo in here at the same time, we're going to have a problem, because these guys are supposed to be riding together all the time. All right, so I didn't slam him in there too tight, but is this too big for Chewie to go in? It is too big for Chewie to fit in here. His head is too big. Let me see if I could put him in the back seat. I got to put his hand down. Okay, I did it. Put his side hand's got to go down, and it works. If I can't close this with these two in here, this is going to be a problem. Okay, it's a tight, very tight squeeze, but I might be able to pull it off. All right, it's not in there that good. So Chewbacca does not fit in there. That's a problem to me, that it doesn't fit with Chewie there. And it's been on before, but it doesn't fit with Chewie on there. So that's a problem. Let me take them off, and this should end up fitting. And at that point, I'm just going to be pissed that Chewie cannot ride in the front seat with Han Solo. There we go. Maybe I can lay him down afterward, like lay him back a little bit, but we'll figure it out. Chewie does not fit in the front seat. So anyway, so that's that. The internals. Now we're just going to jump to the design of the ship in general, because I like to go into like things like lore. So this is going outside of the aspect of the Lego set and more just into the lore. I think that this ship, obviously everyone knows, had set the groundwork for ships not being conventional in the way they look. I mean, you've got this where it's non-symmetrical. You've got the cockpit off to the side. It's looks like a pizza. You got the mandibles coming out. It's crazy, but yet it set the tone as one of the most early ships ever to set that tone of being crazy. So every other ship that came after it could also be crazy. They didn't have to look like a typical space shuttle design, and which was great. And it just really became the bar that was set. Like I said, its design. Not only did it kind of become iconic, but it also then later on got reformed into. So this is known as the YT 1300. Later on, you had the YT 2400, which was Dash Rendar's Outrider, for those who are familiar with it. spawned from the same concept. So yes, this really just kind of expanded that world when it came to what we thought of as ships. And this is like the hero ship. This is the Superman. The way Superman is to comics is the first superhero. This is to spaceships as like the most iconic spaceship of all times. So it's really set that bar. Like I said, the design of it is wacky, but it made sense. You know, everything on it made sense. You know, in terms of uh, where the way things were just laid out, it still worked. You know, you had your guns on it, you have your radar dish, you've got just the whole setup on the inside, which is very just it set the bar, even though it feels like you can't even imagine a time before it where you had this kind of chaos in the inside, where these hallways that are running in circles and you're running around the ship, and the ship became a character. The ship became its own character, and in addition to that, um, just being in the ship was a character. Like in terms of just it became a home. It became like a house. It was the first space RV. So which is funny because when they did Spaceballs, they had them in a RV because essentially that's what the Millennium Falcon was. Um, you know, and jumping right into like hand in hand, right, going straight into the lore things, like the lore that was created from it, you know, was the concept of the swashbuckling pirates type of ship, just his domain, but it essentially it embodied, in terms of the lore, it embodied like a pirate, in a pirate on a pirate ship, but a space version, made for cargo, made for just random missions. It was a hunk of junk, but it did what it had to do. So it just definitely was that ship. It was very iconic, and then just overall, what I think about this whole thing, this set as from Lego in general, I think it's actually an amazing set. It is 2024 right now. If you don't have this set, buy it now. It often goes. I'm gonna have the link in the description down below. It usually goes for about 135 now. It's common normal price. It's supposed to be, I believe, 160 at least on Amazon. It's running for 135 right now. So if you could jump on it, jump on it. There have been some sales where it goes down even below that. But to be honest with you, just get it where you can, because soon this ship will probably be gone. No one knows when it's going to be gone. They probably won't get rid of it anytime soon, but there'll be a new edition, I'm sure, a rendition of it at some point. Who knows if that'll be better or worse? Most of the time, they're going to be better. But at the same time, too, and everyone's hoping that there'll be an original trilogy one. But I'd say, while the price is low on this, jump on it because it's really great. And it comes with, like I said, most of the original trilogy figures that you would need for it. You've got C3PO, R2D2, Chewbacca. The only person you might want to buy separately is Han Solo. I'm going to throw a link in the description for the one that I purchased. And yeah, I think it's a great purchase. Great ship, great design. Like, share, comment, subscribe. And you guys, I'll catch you in the next video. All right, guys. So we are midway through this build. And I can't even really say midway. It's really actually I want to say that I'm starting the 5th bag next, or maybe I just finished the 5th bag and there's a lot of bags to go. But I just wanted to note that in this build process, so I was kind of looking at this portion here where you put this on, and I'm not sure if can't really get it off right now. I'd have to take some time to actually try to see if I can bring this up here. And just what I wanted to show you guys was up now. Is so this piece, and I did a horrible job on the stickers. Just a note for you guys: when you're putting on these stickers, you're not putting them on all at the same time. They're not letting you know to put them closer to the tips up here of where the curve is, at the top of the curve, because they're supposed to align with the neighboring sticker. So, but what I wanted to show is that this section here, and they build this up. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen later on in the build as I get through, but if this stuff is really necessarily needed. What I noticed here is that this part is built off of a couple of plates. Let me get rid of the little droid here. You see, you've got the four. The lighting is good. Let me see. Hold on. Okay, so I see this a little better now. So you got four studs here, four studded plate. Now, what a person could do, and what I may try to do later on, you see this angled piece here needs to be here, and you need a support column. So you can put a 1x2 brick along the side here, and then possibly another 1x2 brick on the side here, giving you a 2 brick wide opening that will give you that sense of, a pathway to have minifigures go down. You could still build the rest of this around that. You would just have to bring the two studs up here, and then afterwards bring a plate that goes across at the top to give you kind of roof lining to attach this piece on. And these things right here would still connect off of that, because these are those kind of side tiles. I can't really fully explain it right now, but where they have that part on the top lays down on a brick or some studs, and then the side has outward facing studs. So that could be done with 2 bricks on the side for support, bringing them up as walls. You'll have a 2 stud opening in the middle, which equates to where the characters can walk through. Yes, you won't necessarily you could fit them through there by pushing them through, but it's more so for being able to visually see through the inside. Now, on this side, you can see how this comes right here. Now, something can be built to create like a more connecting hallway piece, but when you close this, you see how deep it goes in. So you may have to figure out a way to put something there where my finger is there that doesn't get in the way of this coming over. And if you put you wouldn't be able to put something like a platform above these tiles, because what will end up happening is it will block this from closing. But maybe you can put it underneath and it shouldn't stop that movement, just for the purpose of closing it up so you have something for them to walk on if they have to go through that path. But anyway, my point that I was going to say is here, this piece here. Now, what a person could do is, once again, this piece here, I don't know if you're going to need that piece here to connect. That piece right there. I don't know if you're going to need that there. But what you can do is, let me change the camera angle a little bit for you guys. Okay. So what you can do is take this here, and so this whole piece here, you can increase the height of the overall structure. So you would take this, I'm sorry about the focusing, you guys. Take this here and put some pillars to elevate it high. Get rid of this circular piece, maybe get rid of that circular piece, and then maybe you can make this base circular piece, which attaches to those, attach straight to this, which has a base circular piece on it, if you bring it up high. And then from there, let me see if I can pull this off and then demonstrate it without causing too much problem. Okay. So it looks to be like there's a little bit of structure going on here. I don't know if this would be able to be replaced to get that out. But let's assume, I'm sure there's a way to get that out without it being too much of an issue, even though it does look like it's a bit of a structural report to give it some rigidity. But I'm not sure if it's underneath there, or I can't remember off the top of my head if that's connected to any of these things or not. Let me try to see if I can pull it up. No, it's not coming up. So it's connected structurally under, yeah, I can see it on this side, connected with that piece. That's where you see the gray coming there. And so I think it's also coming over there. So a person could get rid of it. It does probably create a level of rigidity to keeping this piece connected with, sorry, let me bring it back a little bit. Of connecting this whole, the cockpit area, with the rest of the structure. That seems to be the main beam that's doing that. Plus, you're going to have the top aspect, but the top aspect's not really connecting the cockpit to the rest of the ship. That's really just that one beam. And if I'm not mistaken, if it's running through to this side, which I think it probably is, connecting to this piece here, and I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it kind of looks like it, to be honest with you. Let me see if there's anything. Can I pull this up? I don't think I can because of the way it's attached. But from the way it's looking, it looks like it's connected. So what I was trying to get at is that if you are able to get rid of that, replace the pieces on this side, replace the pieces on this side, and it's not connected, you could essentially build a full-on tunnel by taking this piece off, the bottom of this has the same, I'm sorry, at an angle. The bottom of this that I took off here, off this piece, is the same angle as this. So this should be able to attach straight directly. I'm not going to do that right now because it's going to get stuck, but that should be able to attach straight directly. So with that being the case, you can essentially get a couple of 2x1 bricks. Get a couple of 2x1 bricks, rise them up to about this height and to go across like that. Then take a plank like that, put it across. So now you have some support going across. Drop that on top of it like you would at the height needed for it to click directly onto this. And it would go underneath how it was going like that. But the difference is now that you have the height clearance, you would have an emptiness going from here to the back of that. Like I said, if you open that up like I instructed. So it's not hard to do. Maybe down the line I'll do that, but I just want to show that to you guys while I'm in the middle of the current build for this. With that being said, we're going to continue with the build, and I'll catch you guys at the end of the video. All right, you guys. So right here, we're in the middle of the build for the Millennium Falcon, and I thought of a modification that I want to do. And I think I mentioned this earlier inside the part of the video, I can't remember, but about gutting this out and then making a tube. So as I started kind of having a chance to kind of work through things, I saw the way that that could be done, and I want to try to do that. Things out of the way here and make some space. I have some mess right here. But so essentially, what we're going to do here is I'll explain it first. So I'm going to end up having, I got a couple of 1x2 bricks. I had mentioned this before. Definitely, I remember now earlier inside the video, putting some of these, the 1x2 bricks on the side here. And so what that's going to end up doing is it's going to give us a path of as wide as this is, which is just 2 spaces. It's not a lot, but it still will give that feeling of an open pathway, even though it's not going to be wide enough for most figures to really even walk through it. But at least it will still just give that illusion of that kind of space. So what we have to do is we're only going to take a couple of these black bricks and you know, try to make it as simple as possible and reuse all the parts that we could use that already come with it. Side, I got a little tool in the picture there. So let me see if I could do this in a way where you guys could see everything and it's not too much in my way, my camera and everything else. The first thing I'm going to do is pull this off the side. And then what we're going to do is, so there is a beam. There is a beam you can see here, that this beam here that has to go across. Now that's a support beam. So at the end of the day, what we're going to have to do is keep that beam in there in some capacity, because that reinforcement is needed to hold the cockpit to the base of the ship. So what we're going to do is this component here, we're going to take off. So I did it all. I worked it all out in my head, but now I got to just make sure that I'm able to sustain this. So essentially what we're going to do is this was normally here and then this was here. So obviously 3 plates equal 1 brick high. So we're going to need 1 brick to replace all of those. And then we're going to need another brick to replace this one. And then we're going to have another brick on the back end to replace this whole piece here. So this whole back piece here. So what we're going to do is going to take this off. I'm trying to make sure that I can remember where every piece goes without having to run to the instructions. Removing this. So what we'll do is start replacing some of those pieces as we go. So that way, that's a thing. So what we're going to do is, since this is a little dash piece higher, I hope that you guys can see this well. Let me move this a little bit to the side. I'm going to take this other piece off too. I'm going to now take this. I'm going to turn it like that. Now we got to remember, in our height, this is still supposed to be 1, plate high. So we got to keep that there. We're going to get rid of this. Get rid of this one here too. Now this is what we're looking at so far. Now mind you, this piece has this plate here, and that side over there doesn't have that. Now that's fine, because at the roof of that, we're going to end up putting this beam is coming across. So what we're going to do is this. Right here, you see, we're going to take this up, take this one, I'm going to put this piece here, here. So that's what we're looking at now. That's our piece. Now, okay, you guys, I had to take my mic out, so I hope you guys can hear me okay, because my battery was going to die, so I had to plug in an external charger. So this is our same piece now, but now they aren't bridged together, which is fine because they're going to be bridged together by the base. So what we now have to do is, this piece is going to end up coming up. It's going to get a little tricky now. So here's where it's going to get tricky, because this whole thing, this is going to have to, I believe it comes off first before this thing goes up. Can I get this thing to come up? Yeah. Okay. So that in itself was a bit of a problem. And I'm not sure where that piece is going right now. Hold on. So that's coming right here. Okay. So what we're going to do is, from this section here that you see here, we're going to take this beam up. And then we have this piece coming across here that it leans on. So what I would then need to do is create That's going to need something to fill it up with. Now, what do I have laying around for that? I've got these right here. So what I could do is take these, put that there. And there's one piece that I just already took off from earlier, and I'm going to put that there to replace it. So now we are at the height that we need. Now, the only thing that a little bit bothers me is that all these other pieces fell off over here. I'm hoping that that won't be that hard to put back together. I'm not sure where that went. So I'm gonna have to look at the instructions for that piece there, those pieces that came off there. But for right now, we don't need to focus on that right now too much, because this shouldn't be a problem for us to still get this to do what it does and go into place. I just want to make sure everything fits where it should still. So it should. Okay, so I paused the video a bit just to put for a second to put that piece back on. So hopefully you guys can see that well. So I put that piece back on. These pieces here won't come back on until this piece is back on. So we'll deal with that part later. Now we just want to make sure that this is able to sit flush and flat. But what we're going to do is this piece here, that's where we're going to put our beam, this beam to go across. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this off. We are going to okay, I miscalculated something. I miscalculated that. Miscalculated that. So let me see. I need this piece here to go right where that is. So what is the workaround for that? Let's see if this could work. I really need a 5-piece stud here, and that's not going to work. So what I'm going to try to do is, I'm sorry, this piece right here needs to be 5 studs. What I'm going to try to do is just move it to the side, and I know it's going to make it look maybe a little stupid, but let's see if that works anyway. I can go like this. Now it's going to make this piece stick out on the side a little bit. If you just had the pieces to use, you could just use a piece that would fit there. But the problem for me is that I don't want to use pieces that we don't have, you know, for the set. I don't like doing that, you know. If it doesn't come with the set, we don't want to use it. Okay, so we took this piece off. I'm sorry if it's hard to see. I'm trying to keep everything somewhat in frame. So what we're going to do now is move this one, which was here, move it here. See, so we moved it forward 1, we moved that back 1. What we're going to do now is take this like that, and now I should be able to take this whole setup here. Let's see that everything is where it's supposed to go. Okay, now this, I put this piece back on. This piece should go here. And this other piece will go on the opposite side here. Now, if this little notch ends up being a problem later on in the build, that's going to just totally destroy everything, which might end up being the case, and that might end up being a problem. So just be mindful of that, and then I might have to just redo everything because of that. So let's see if we can get around that. Something's missing though, because I put those pieces down here and then this is gonna go here, but something's missing in that height and I'm not sure why. Or was it always empty there? That's missing in its height. Oh, that's missing because I brought this up. That was the piece that would have gone there. So that's fine. Then those little pieces here are just missing this. So I don't have another flat piece on hand. I just used it. Let me think. So I don't have another flat piece on hand. I don't need to put that there, but it does help with the reinforcement a little bit. The part I'm referring to is that little spot that I said down there. It's got like a little bit of a gap now. Let me push this all the way down. And you can see they have that little gap there now, but you know, that's fine. So what we're gonna do now is this right here. Well, matter of fact, I'm sorry, this has to be lifted up. It can't have it solid down yet. Oh, look at that, convenient that this piece now separates simple and easy because of that setup. So that's actually good. So what we're gonna do now is this. Now I gotta try to remember the height on everything from these pieces that I had here, which should fit like this. Everything should be the same in terms of the height. Now, we're moving this black brick. We need to get 2 more small black bricks to go here and here to replace that same height that we just lost. Now, you see right here is now the opening coming down this way. Now, we're just going to connect that really quick. But what I realize is this, when this flap comes across, it's the height where you're not going to be able to close this if you connected that piece. So it has to come underneath it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece here. We're going to take these pieces here that we took before, and we're going to put them below the level, because then that will allow it to connect without it being it's the only way that it could connect properly. So we gotta try to make that go below the level. What I mean by that is this. So you see this ground level here, that folding plate that goes on the side here, it'll be at a height where it can't close in because it'll be touching right this empty space. But the height of it should go right above, I looked at it before, this. So if we put this bar below it and not on top of it or equal to that space, it should slide under it without a problem, in theory. So let's see, but I gotta just make it where it works in terms of that space. So let's see, we put that there. I don't know if that's going to be enough room to be, let's see. This would be here. So let's test it out. We're going to clamp that on real quick. And I've got random pieces falling apart. So you see there the space in between. So it's almost, but it's not completely where we want it to be. So I'll take that second piece I have here and I could take that one and just put it right next to it. And then what I'll do is will it close? Is it hitting? Okay, it's hitting because that piece is too high. So what I'll do is, can I put it a little lower? Okay, so I just put it down almost like a stair aspect, and then it works. I wish that it could be a little more solid. Excuse me. I wish it could be a little more solid, but at the same time, it's just to at the least add that visual that it looks like it's I wish, let me see if I could do it like this. Could I put that on there? And will it somewhat stay? Okay, so I put that other last piece on top of it to try to fill it out a little bit. It's not that great, but it's just to kind of fill in the hole. Now keep in mind, all this is going to be covered anyway, but it's just to try to create that image. Now what we have to do is take these two pieces on the side. So I'm going to take that off. We're going to take this here. These were our two side pieces. Put them like that. And then now, let's see, get our beam. Where's our beam? And we're going to need this to align. Hopefully this is going to align in the same place. I'm hoping, but I might have been off with my measurements, and I'm off by one. I'm off by one piece. So what I need, first off, let me see if a person can fit back here. They can't even really fit back there because it's not even high enough. So it would give the visual like it's open, but you're not gonna be able to really have them go back there, but it will visually look open. So I don't know how much that means towards someone. I would need to put 3 of those pieces of no, I'm sorry, 2 flat panel pieces there instead. So what can I use to do that? So what I'll do is this. I'm going to take this back off. Okay. I am going to take this, which I just put down here a moment ago, if I can get to it. This same piece right here. And what I'm going to do with those 2 pieces that I just took off, replace them with this brick here. Which raises that height. It's fine. And then I'm going to take these 2 now. Not as sturdy as I would want it to be, granted. So if you were using a different piece, it would be better. But once again, like, I try to use the pieces that I have for the set rather than some that I don't have. Now I do have this extra piece here, so maybe I could just use this. Would actually be a better fit. Yes. So what I'll do is I'll do it like that. Take this off here. What we're going to do is put that there. Put this one there first, I'm sorry, then put that there. Now we'll put this back. Matter of fact, I could take this now, put that singular piece there just to fully close that. Okay, you guys can see that there. Put that single piece there. I hope you guys can see all this well. I know it's kind of hard, but hopefully you guys are able to see this enough to follow the instructions if you want to do this. Put that there. And then now we're going to put this piece back. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, I just realized something too. if this piece on the end ends up becoming a problem, I could have swapped this 6-piece out for the 4-piece. Maybe that would have worked, but we'll just keep it like this for now. Okay, matter of fact, so this is still too high for that, so we just need the 1 piece here. So I think I will then swap this out on here for that 4-piece, just to make sure that will that still lay here? Will that fit in that space and connect to that piece over there? It still works reasonably well. It's not as good, but then I don't have to worry later on about, you know, that little piece that I had on the side stretching out. So we're gonna do like this. There we go. I don't know if this is even worth it, to be honest with you, and I might just end up plugging this into the video, into a separate video, if I feel like I just don't want to stick with this. And so from that point, we can then, we're gonna have to have that be risen upwards a bit for the support on that beam there. So what I could do is this, 2 of these just regular black pieces. Increase that height like this. Increase this one like this. Make sure that this height is where it needs to be for this piece here. Let's see, because we have to make sure that it fits at the height it's supposed to be. Okay, so what I realize is I will need to actually put something like this here. And let's see, because I think that's going to be needed anyway for this to go across to some degree. So the one issue that we're running into now is I need another flat piece. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have to take away the little platform I had at the bottom down here. And I'm going to probably have to use these pieces first and foremost for here. Now I have other black pieces that I could use in place of that. What we'll do is, I just had a panel piece here and I don't know what I just did with it. Where did it go? Here we go. This piece right here. Let's see if I'm able to separate this while it's on here. That's always something that's quite hard to do, is pulling apart 2 tiles that are, or plates I mean, that are together. Okay, we did it. We're gonna go like that. So that's gonna even out that other piece there. We're gonna now take this, just, I think could use just this one piece there to to bring that on top. And voila. So that's now there. I should then be able to, so you can see here now, you have some hallway space. It's not, you know, it does have, it's kind of low, but so a person can't really walk through it that well, but at least you could see that back space there in the hallway area. You could assume that they had to duck to go through there, but that part needs to be that low because of the support beam that connects with this side over here, which is important. Now, if you have a single stud extra, which I'm sure I actually do in the extras pieces, matter of fact, here, let's see what we got in here. These are the extras. So I got a little gray piece. What I can do with that gray piece there, I'm glad you always got extras. You can utilize this stuff. I could fill in that little one piece gap right here on the edge here. That way, when this is down, you can see here we filled in that little gap right there, using all the same pieces. So I didn't really use too many other pieces other than some of the 1x2 brick studs, and everything else is just here. So that's something that all you guys should have, whether it's a different color or not. You should have that, so that shouldn't be too big of a problem. So with that, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take this piece here, put this on the side now, and you can see now it fits out. Now with these extra pieces that I have laying around, not including this was from my own set of stuff. These parts here are all pieces that were part of this. So if you need to use them now for something else, you can. Okay, so we have gotten to that point so far. Now we're going to, let me see what I'm looking for. This. We're looking for this. We're going to throw this back on. Now, before this normally came with 2 of these circular pieces below it. Now that we built up that whole part, we should be able to take this, put this right here on this 4x4 space, and it should fit exactly the way it's supposed to. Let's see. So I put it down, and there we go. So it fit. So like I said, this could be spruced up a little better, but I like to use all the same pieces that came with it for the most part, because I don't want it to be where, you know, you guys who are trying to mimic this have to use a bunch of pieces that, you know, you don't have, or unique pieces. So at the end of the day, all we did was use 4 1x2 studs here, bricks, and then 4 1x2 coming up this way. And that was it. So 8 of those, and you add them into your setup, and then you can do this here. Like I said, it's not perfect, but at least gives you that opening. Now, as far as the space that we have on the bottom here, now that we realize we got these extra pieces, we could figure out if there's a way for us to close it off in some way. So let's see if we can close this piece off in some way down here, like we were showing before. And not 100% sure if we can get that to work great, but if we can kind of figure something out. Because of the height of this, it's like you can't just level it off like that. Let me see if I can use one of these circular pieces, and if that works to some kind of way as well. Okay, so I don't like the way that looks. So you know, we don't want this to just be a big opening either. if the piece that goes there didn't have studs, it would work. So like if this piece came out without any studs, almost like this right here, if it did that, it would fit, because then when you close that piece over it, it would just close smooth. So we don't have an extra piece like that, so I'll do the stepping down effect like I did a moment ago. So you can see here that it was done like that. And that piece, the other side of it, you can see connects underneath that side. So it's somewhat sturdy, not great. But then when you look in here, there is some kind of floor-ish thing going on. What made it feel completely sealed before is that you couldn't even look through this hallway. But at least this gives it a sense of that there is a hallway there. So I'm gonna go with that for this final build for now. Maybe I'll switch it up another time, I don't know. But it does give that sense that you can run through there. Now, I can't really fit a figure in there, to be honest with you. You kind of can, but it's not great. But at least you can simulate that they can get through there. And if you need to, you can slide this little side piece open on the side to get whatever character you stuck in there out. And you could do that. And what's also interesting too is that with the Millennium Falcon, in that area here in the ship, there's an entranceway to go in, and these panels are kind of sticking out like that with computer stuff on them, so it kind of does simulate that a little bit. So I don't know if I'm going to attach this to the video, or I'm going to just make it a separate video, because it is going to make the review very long if I attach this into it, and I don't want you guys to have to sit through that if you guys didn't want to see that. So we'll see what I end up deciding to do with that, but for now you guys see the build that was made here. And now these all go into the extra parts pile in my little extra parts little bag. All right, you guys. So I just wanted to add that to smooth this out a bit. Right here, what I did was I put in the extras pieces that I had along with the set, there was a flat 1x1 plate and a 1x1 little stud piece, a round stud piece. So I put those underneath here, and then I put that plate to go across it, which now makes it close smooth still, but let's see, it's not easy to see. Let me see if I can put flash on. Okay, so you can see now that it smooths it out a little bit more in terms of like a more flat kind of surface area, and these are all parts that come with it, so that we're still in the extra pieces. So there you go, just wanted to add that. One thing I wanted to show that I ended up correcting, where I just mentioned about putting the two pieces here. Instead, I put another stud here that I pulled from that space I had underneath here, and I put the flat piece, and I'm gonna attach that to the back of that, because now you see that that makes that look smooth now, and now you can't tell that there's any difference between there, and no one's gonna notice that this has two round studs on it, but this is gonna go underneath here, and you can see how that fits smooth. And it closes up.